Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Ivy is currently having a little nap, so I thought I was just doing some research to look into weaning, as in breast weaning. So we've reached a year or over a year. I never thought I would breastfeed for longer than a year. It's just been a natural progression, I guess, and because it was a very easy process this time around, I know it can be really difficult for some people to get started. But Ivy just seemed to know what she was doing, and it's all the way through been the easier option in terms of just quickness, speed. I enjoy it, she enjoys it, so it's not been something that I have been felt like I had to stop or have been forced to stop. So now I'm looking into it because I think having weaned my son at an earlier age, which seemed to happen very naturally, he was about 8 months old. I think also I had a timeline in my head. I gradually did it with him, but I was absent during the day more because I was working more, which made it a lot easier. So by the time he stopped, he was only feeding once in the morning. Kind of like I'd cut it down during the day and then at night, and then eventually it was only in the morning. So it was a relatively easy process, and over the past couple of weeks, I think Ivy's been feeding more, probably because I'm around her more and she's had a bit of an upset stomach, and I think she's teething. She's been waking up a lot during the night. So last night between 6 p.m-ish or 6:30 when she went to bed and 5 a.m. she woke up 7 times, and I think I probably went to her and fed her 6 out of those 7 times. So for me, I feel like my body is, with the nighttime thing, it definitely is very tiring. And I'm not going to complain because I enjoy those moments. I really do 90% of the time enjoy having those moments with her, even if it is in the middle of the night, but it is very tiring. Anyone who's had any form of sleep deprivation or reasons why they've had to get up in the night will know it can get tiring. And on top of that, I am quite active during the day, and I have my running, and not that I need to justify any of this, but I just thought I'd have a little chat. And I've also found some tips on a website which I think I shared in my last extended breastfeeding video, which I think are quite helpful, and some things I hadn't really thought of as being part of the process. So at the moment when I'm around, Ivy still feeds during the day, and then obviously I go to her whenever she wakes up at night. I feed her and I put her back and she goes back to sleep normally, no problem whatsoever. I think it's just a bit of comfort. What I would like to be able to do is stop feeding, I think I've said this before, at all in the middle of the night, because she doesn't need the actual milk in the night. She eats 3 meals a day, she eats sometimes 2 snacks, depends. She's fully weaned pretty much in terms of food. She drinks milk out of a cup or a bottle, but we've never really been consistent with the bottle. Now I feel like she's almost past that point of it being a switch for the breast to the bottle. I'm just going to share some of these tips because I think they're really helpful. The website's called lalech.org.uk, and it's specifically about breastfeeding, and it's run by, they have 234 volunteer leaders throughout the UK. They've got a Facebook group, and they've got helpline, and they have other online platforms. So they're basically a support group for breastfeeding mothers, and they've got a section on their website which is called Thinking of Weaning, and under that they have various tips. The part I'm looking at is for older babies and toddlers. Again, highlights the fact that you as the mother are in the best position to know what to do. 100% don't listen to what, someone like me says. Every mother knows their own baby best, and I'm kind of just recording this for my own part of my journey, I guess. Some of these tips which I think are really helpful, I'm not going to read them all because some of them I probably won't do. It says don't offer, don't refuse, which is a simple technique to help when weaning from the breast, and I think that's really good because I will quite often subconsciously offer Ivy and say, do you want some milk? I feel she's getting a bit upset, or if she is, she's hurt herself, I'll say, do you want some milk? And she can actually say boobs now, which is one of very few words that she can say. Yeah, I mean, she's going to learn that, isn't she? I think that's really helpful because if you don't offer, then it's not going to be so much of a habit, or you're not going to do it when just for like comfort in a sense. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you do want to wean, or for me, as I want to wean, then I need to stop offering breast to her. And it says don't refuse, so if she asks for it, then I assume that means, you know, it's there kind of thing. Which again, I think that's good, because if babies could get, she would get quite upset. There's another recommendation here about distraction, which I also think is really important, or offering a snack when they're asking, because it's very obvious now when Ivy wants breastfed, she will, you know, she knows where it is, and she will try and help herself. So I think distraction for her, she's at the stage where I could offer her a snack, or I could play with a toy with her, and that would probably distract her a bit. And yeah, I guess the more I do that as a habit, the easier it will become. So I think that's really helpful. So that is, distraction or postponement, as it says in here, is the tip, postponement. Suggest an interesting activity. I guess that is connected to postponement. So maybe playing with a new toy, going to the park, going to get a coffee, going for a walk in the pram. All of these things are things that I would do anyway, but I don't tend to do them as a form of distracting her from wanting breast milk. Enlist help of a partner. So obviously my husband will be completely behind me when I make the decision, right, that's it, we're going for it. But it's just finding a window where obviously he works a lot, and him being up in the night as well as me being up in the night is probably not that helpful, but we need to clear that kind of time, because I think if I go in all the time, it's going to be a lot harder for me to resist that temptation in the middle of the night to just soothe and make it as quick and easy as possible on both myself and Ivy. So we need to find a window, which is what this is suggesting, enlist your partner's help, because I think if my husband goes in to see her, then it will make things easier. Another thing in here that might be helpful is shorter feeds. So when your baby's feeding, I think I am already doing that. I tend to, in the middle of the night specifically, I don't let her keep feeding until, you know, she would just be there all night. I tend to see that she's drinking, and then after maybe 5 minutes I will stop, and she'll be asleep anyway, so I'll just put her back down in her bed. So I think that's a good thing, is to shorten the feeds, or maybe give some milk and then offer milk in a cup. I also do that sometimes, so if I give her a little feed during the day, and then, you know, I'll then offer her a cup with some milk in it. So that's another thing. And changing your daily routine, I think that's really helpful. Not just sitting in the chair where you would regularly feed, doing exactly the same thing at the same time, whereby they would expect fed at certain times. We do go whole days where I don't feed her at all because I'm at work. So all day on Thursday she's with my mum, and then also I don't tend to feed her much on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because I work half a day. So I think those are all really helpful tips, and I will definitely implement some of those. Something else I want to talk about is kind of the change. I can't remember if I mentioned this in my last video, but the change in kind of people's attitudes towards breastfeeding or extended breastfeeding. So I think when you're breastfeeding initially, and probably up to, once you get to like the weaning onto food stage, I noticed a bit of a change in people's attitudes, almost like asking when you would be stopping, or kind of suggesting that you would be stopping. And then obviously that's just probably a natural conversation for people, but it can almost make you feel like you should. And at various points I felt like I should, because of other people's comments, or people saying things like, oh well, obviously you'll be stopping at a year, when actually the World Health Organization recommends that you breastfeed for 2 years, and a child's immune system isn't fully develops from the age of like 2 to 6. So breast milk specifically adapts to your child at all points, which is so clever. And there's never a point where it's not valuable anymore or nutritionally beneficial. And it also has obviously benefits mentally for the mother. And I am a little bit worried about stopping all of a sudden, because at the moment, having breastfed, I haven't had my cycle since before I was pregnant. And I know that when I stopped with my son, I had really bad PMT, Anyway, I got really severe migraines. I was sick for about 3 months every time I had my monthly visitor, and I'm not looking forward to going through that again. And that is not a reason not to keep breastfeeding, because I think it's getting to the point where my body is tired. Probably more from the waking up during the night. I don't think it's the production of breast milk or like the energy that takes. It's just not sleeping, and sleep is so important and undervalued as well. So I think the change in attitude has affected me in that I am much more shy about feeding IV in public. I think I said in my last video I would quite happily continue to do that, but in reality I find that quite challenging, because I feel like probably people don't care and they're not looking, but I feel like when I just feel a bit more uncomfortable about it when I shouldn't. And I'm not suggesting anyone else should feel uncomfortable about it. That's just me personally. I feel like maybe because of certain things that have been said that I should have stopped by now, even though every mother has the right and should continue as long as they're happy, as long as they're healthy, as long as they're comfortable, for as long as they want, and do it the way they want, without feeling like there's any judgment. Although I suppose we are in control of our feelings, so we can't blame other people for how we feel. But there is definitely a change in attitude and mindset and comments once your baby is over a year. And so I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, I definitely find breastfeeding in public something that I don't really like to do anymore, unless I'm around other mothers or people that I know. And obviously, like with my husband or my family, I don't mind, but I feel, that's changed. I still feel huge benefits in the bond and the connection and the relaxation, and I love feeding her before I put her to bed at night. I really do feel torn and a bit sad about it, but I feel like I also need a bit more kind of like me time, and we've only ever left IV once, and that was when we went to London to do a marathon last November, which is probably around about the time I recorded my last video. I just feel like it's still not something that's talked about much, breastfeeding beyond a year. I do know plenty of people who have breastfed beyond a year. It's just that I am not really around a lot of mums at the moment, due to just being back at work and my days and what I'm doing in my days, and the fact that I'm working from home on the days I'm not working, or trying to do bits of work from home during Ivy's nap times. That's all I really want to do, is just share those tips I'd found. If anyone else has experience of this, like how did you wean? I don't want to do a drastic all of a sudden thing. I think maybe I've answered my own question with these tips, but if anyone else has any suggestions or even just experience of having done this with an older baby, I would love to know. So please do either message me or comment below. I hope you're all having a wonderful week and have a lot planned for the weekend. It's a holiday weekend here in Aberdeen. If you're enjoying my videos, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Thanks for watching.